Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Rotor's Magazine. My name's Kenny McKee, and behind me I have my personal 1988 Mazda RX-7 10th anniversary. What's special about this car is that it actually has a swap out of a Mazda Unos Cosmo, the 13B, not the 20B, so don't get excited. But it has the 13B RE from a Cosmo, as well as a Precision 6766 with the ported H cover. The car actually originally made a little over 470 wheel horsepower at 19 pounds of boost on a Precision 6266, and since then I've upgraded the turbo, and I'll be putting the car on the dyno soon. I'm expecting roughly 500 to 550 wheel horsepower from basically a stock looking FC. So this is the car you'll be looking for here in future videos. But the reason why we're here today is to talk about Premix. This subject isn't quite as controversial as our Rotary is reliable, so there's no reason to be alarmed. But premixing is commonplace in the Rotary world, and for the new guys that are jumping in that don't quite know, or even some of the older guys that are just kind of looking into it, I just want to kind of get a little explainer. Now I just want to go ahead and say that I'm not going to go into what brand you should use or how much you should actually use. I'll give my personal opinion, but other than that, it's up to you to decide. I'm not giving a definitive yes or no on what you should use. It's all up to your discretion, because there are many different setups that work for many different people. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, from the factory, the Mazda RX-7 comes with an oil metering pump, also known as the OMP. The OMP injects oil into the rotor housing as the apex seal spins around the housing. What this does, it lubricates the apex seal and prevents wear as the apex seal rides along the rotor housing over time. So there are two benefits, to me at least, for why you should premix. For one, the oil metering pump in certain cars, like the S4 FC, do not indicate when they've actually gone bad. So what happens is when your oil metering pump goes bad, your apex seal rides along the housing without any sort of lubrication, creating premature wear and potentially engine failure. The other benefit is that the oil metering pump injectors don't inject as wide a spray pattern as your fuel injectors do. And when you premix your gasoline, you're actually spraying the oil through the fuel injectors. And when you spray through the fuel injectors, you get a wider spray pattern, and thus you lubricate your housing even more than what you would from the standard. You're also it's at your discretion how much you actually want to lubricate your housing. And that brings us to the question, how much should I premix my RX-7? Now, this is I just want to go ahead and say, once again, there are a lot of opinions on this, and I'm just going to give my personal opinion, and I'm going to also explain what other people do. The amount of premix you run is typically measured in ounces to the gallon. There's parts per hundreds or whatever, but I'm just going to ignore that. I'm just going to go ounces per gallon. Now, people will run half an ounce to a gallon up to 2 ounces to 1 gallon. I personally run 1 ounce to 1 gallon, which is, I believe, the standard practice amongst people that they premix their cars. But other people have gone as little as half ounce to a gallon, and they've said they had no problems. I've never personally experienced, so I can't speak from experience on that note. I know 1 ounce, 1 gallon works for me. However, in my also experience, in other experiences, with harder seals like the Rotary Aviation Super Seal, you will absolutely 100% need more premix. We personally recommend at least 1/2 ounce to 1 gallon of gas. That's at the minimum. You're gonna need more because the seal is harder, so it leads more likelihood to scratch your housing as it goes around. And that brings us to our last question. What type of premix should I use in my Rotary? A lot of people, and it's a pretty common Rotary standby, is IDEMITSU, or however you pronounce that, premix oil. The reason people use that oil is simply because it's formulated specifically for Rotary engines. You don't have to specifically use that. However, if you want to have the best result, I would personally recommend IDEMITSU. But I've used a wide breadth of two-stroke oils with no ill effects. So feel free to experiment and use whatever you want to, or just jump on RX-7 Club and kind of find out what people are using and go from there. And there's one more thing. If you're going to be running an alternative fuel that's not gasoline, like E85, you need to understand that standard premix does not mix in alcohol fuels. So what people normally use is castor bean-based oil, like Klotz Super Technic or bean oil. There's also another oil, REDLINE Synthetic, which is something that I would personally recommend, simply because those other oils, like the bean-based oils, leave a residue inside the irons as they go. Now, there haven't really been any reported failures because of that residue. I haven't seen anything that reports on the ill effects of that residue. I just want to know that whenever I pull my engine apart, I don't have to clean up all the irons and the ports and things like that to get all that junk out. There is a potential for clogging your injectors. You need to keep that in mind. But other than that, everyone's had great success with bean oil to REDLINE Synthetic. So with that, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. My name's Kenny McKee. Thank you for tuning in to Rotor's Magazine. If you have any more ideas or you want to know anything else, leave it in the comments down below. If you like this video, please share it. And be sure to check out these other videos. And have a good one.